Teofimo Lopez makes a successful return to the ring with a 7th round stoppage over Pedro Campa. You know, we often talk about fighters learning from their defeats, and in some cases that can mean simply keeping your hands up more, not making certain technical mistakes, not making certain tactical errors. But in other instances, it can literally mean copying things, copying moves or tactics or even styles that your opponent used against you to good effect. And I suspect that that is what happened here with Lopez returning against Campa, because he was up on his toes, he was moving around all over the place, he was shoulder rolling, he was shimmying, he was putting on a show. I suspect that the Kambosos fight made him feel like he was too statuesque, too upright, and too cumbersome to some degree. He's always had the ability to move, Teofimo Lopez, but he kind of gotten away from it a little bit. Here, I think he was trying to prove not only to the public, but also to himself that he is, when he wants to be, a fast, fluid, and mobile fighter. And as I say, that's what he demonstrated against Campa. Now, obviously, Campa is a bigger guy than George Kambosos, not as fast, not as fluid. So it's easier for Teo to look like this against this sort of opponent. But nonetheless, Teo wasn't attempting to do this kind of thing against George Kambosos. He just felt like he was going to be the bigger, stronger guy who could just walk in behind, I guess, a Klitschko-esque jab and take him out. I mean, we all remember the hilarious instructions from his dad in the corner, which I won't repeat here for the sake of the YouTube algorithm. In any event, Lopez put on, I would say, entertaining display of boxing, hitting and moving, counter-punching, fighting off the ropes, hitting this guy, Campa, with everything but the kitchen sink. He was a tough guy, but very limited. And in the end, Lopez was able to drop him with a jab. It was kind of a reverse 1-2. So it was a right hand first, and then he put all his power into the straight left. An unusual combination, which you do sometimes see orthodox fighters and southpaw fighters throwing. I remember George Groves was using a lot of reverse 1-2s when he won his world title. If you go back to that fight, he was throwing the reverse 1-2 a lot there. So yeah, Lopez scored the knockdown with a reverse 1-2, and then he managed to close the show. So it was a good return, I would say, for Lopez. He did the business, and he'll be looking for bigger and better things at 140 pounds. After the fight, he called out the likes of Josh Taylor. I think he mentioned Ryan Garcia. Before too long, you're probably going to have Devin Haney moving up to 140 pounds as well. Tank Davis, we're not sure what's going on with him promotionally and who he's going to fight next. But in any event, whatever the case, Lopez is there or thereabouts. He wants to be a 2-time 2-weight world champion. And based upon what I saw here, he's definitely in the mix. He's a talented fighter. He's strong. He can box. And maybe the loss to Kambosos was exactly what he needed, because some fighters can get carried away. And you see, the thing about getting carried away where you start believing your own hype, it makes you complacent. You see, you start thinking you're better than you actually are, so you feel like you don't need to train as hard for this guy, or you don't need to be as psyched up for a fight against that guy, and so on. And when I say psyched up, I don't mean tense. I just mean focused. And so a loss can help you to refocus and rededicate yourself. Some guys just need it. Some guys can't go on a straight, smooth path. They constantly need reminding that they're not invincible. They have to be reminded of that in order to keep them at their best. Lennox Lewis was a guy like that. Lewis was someone who let his ego get carried away, and he needed the losses to Oliver McCall and Hasim Ratman to make him better. So there are different personality types. Some fighters get ruined by losses like that, either losses like Lopez against Kambosos or Lennox Lewis against the likes of McCall and Ratman. That can ruin certain fighters, but other fighters react differently, and it actually makes them much better. So anyway, let me know what you guys thought in the comments below about Lopez's performance here against Campa. Do you think it was a good return? And how well do you think he will do against the likes of Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall perhaps, Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis, Devin Haney, maybe even a Kambosos rematch at some stage? Let me know what you think about all that in the comments below.